introduction question, I guess. We could do one every week or something.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
So this week we could do like cats or dogs more. I like cats.
I like dogs. I don't actually like either, but I have a dog, so I'll go with that. Dogs.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't like either. But I have a llama, so that's cool.
You have a llama? Oh my god.
Yeah, I have a llama.
I love it.
So cool.
It's for the harder animals to take care of.
What do you have a llama for? Did you just want a llama?
So in like middle school and high school, I did 4-H with her, and we went we could go like backpacking and stuff. So that was fun. But
Very
right
cool.
now she's like hanging out at my house because I'm at college. So
That's funny.
Yep.
Still pretty cool you have a llama.
yeah, she's awesome.
I'm a dog person. When I was younger, I really loved cats too. But since I got older, cats and I, our personalities, we just don't mesh very well. At all.
That's funny.
Oh, that's fair.
Cats do have a personality. I think cats are brats.
They are. I just like them anyway.
They're so sassy. They're like, no. They're like little animal versions of kids.
Haley, do you have a cat? I'm assuming you have like a cat house right behind you.
He doesn't touch it, but it sits there. Yes, I have a cat. He weighs 18 pounds though, so he's bigger than most dogs. So.
Oh my
He's
goodness.
big.
That's so funny. That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Cats are still pretty fun. I like them as kittens.
Mm-hmm.
I think what just freaks me out about cats is like they're just like when you pick them up, they're just limp. Like I don't know. I've always thought that's so weird. Like you pick it up and it's just like limp. I'm like, this is weird. You're like
They have shifty eyes. They have shifty eyes.
You're not wrong.
It's so funny.
Freaks me out.
Did we have this PowerPoint in our readings this week? Do you guys remember?
Yeah, we did.
I had family in town from like Saturday to yesterday, so I did all this like last Tuesday, so I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, did have a PowerPoint. It was the one. It was like 8 slides.
I was gonna say it wasn't long.
Yeah.
We had like we were given a PowerPoint that had like 4 slides, and then we had another PowerPoint that had like the same slides plus 4 more.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. Is that like the same thing now? This one that's on this assignment is like those same 8 and then a couple more on top of that? Because I recognize most of it, but not quite all of it.
Yeah, I think it looks a little different.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is the first time I've opened it for the relevance, but it looks a little different, but the beginning looks the same. So I'm sure it's similar.
Let's see. So we have to quickly review the models. Somebody want to summarize how it works?
Oh, what is these? I'm trying to remember.
I know. I was like, I did this on Saturday. Let me refresh.
Yeah, it's been a while. From what I understand, this is just where like education is like the most important because you want people to understand like how susceptible they are to something and how serious it is and the pros and cons
Like,
and stuff.
I remember like it was talking about motivation, the things that will motivate someone, like susceptibility, severity,
The benefits and barriers.
yeah, benefits and barriers, cues to action, and then self-efficacy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I didn't understand really like how to apply it as well. Maybe I just didn't like fully
Yeah, I think the
understand.
PowerPoint actually goes into that a little bit more because it has like an example of, let's see, blues musicians that you want to quit smoking. And then there's like a step for each one of them.
Oh,
Oh.
sweet.
I feel like
Sorry,
my
Emma.
brain did not retain that at all.
I feel like this one just like made the most sense, so I didn't really study it because it just made sense to me. And so then now that I'm trying to like apply it, it's different.
Yeah. Also, I feel like it was one of like our shorter reads than we've had previously.
Mm-hmm.
At least I felt so. I didn't think it was as much as it was still a pretty big reading assignment, but I feel like the ones in the past have been a lot larger.
Yeah.
So
Let's see. So
All
the
right,
first
I'm
one's
trying
talking
to
about
make
like,
just everything. Okay.
yeah. It's
Like-
talking about like using brochures and internet materials. To talk about.
What slide are you guys on?
I'm on 6.
On 6?
Yeah, that's where they start.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, it does look like this is a lot about like posting like ads and flyers and radio things and stuff just to get information out.
Advertise it.
Yeah.
Okay, and that one's the belief model in action. Okay.
Let's see.
So sorry, I'm trying to see exactly what all we are.
I know what we're supposed to discuss. I have like a million tabs open, so I'm trying to
I
find.
know, I do too, and I'm like, okay.
So
So my
we're
clicker, my computer is broken, so it's like doesn't switch when I need it.
So we're discussing the processes and how they relate to the stages of the model. So the first one makes a lot of sense, which is like getting out brochures and materials and stuff like that so people understand if they're susceptible or not and how severe it is. So that one's pretty self-explanatory.
And I think, remember there was a story in like the first PowerPoint how they were trying to do the TB test. Am I going?
50s? Are you speaking?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Sorry.
like they were trying to do a TB test, but they didn't like the TB screening, but it wasn't super successful, and they all said it was because of lack of motivation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like lack of motivation was also they probably didn't advertise it as much or motivate people to really go and get this test done because they didn't really have a fear that they could
Yeah, that makes sense.
have TB. Is that the right one that I'm thinking of?
Yeah, I think that was this week that we were talking about that.
Mhm.
Sometimes I say stuff and then they're like, no, we didn't read that at all, and it happened to be for another class. So
Yeah,
just had to make sure.
still probably applies, right? So then the next ones are benefits and barriers. Let's see. So in this case, they were talking about quitting smoking. So yeah, they're talking about what good things happen if you quit smoking, right? Like having lower chances of getting cancer and stuff. How do you address the barriers?
So the barriers would be like what would hold them back.
Mm-hmm. Like, should
Um,
you address them or should you just like plan for them, I guess, to be able to get around them? Does that make sense?
So what would the barriers be for smoking then?
Lack of self-efficacy, I think, would be a big one because they're like addicted to it, so they would have a hard time thinking that they could overcome that.
Mm-hmm.
Having to go to the support groups if they would needed a support group and then didn't have
Mhm.
transportation, or like that's like a barrier that I see could be.
Or also if they have people around them that smoke, so they're like constantly around it and reminded and stuff.
So I think some barriers would need to be addressed and some would just have to be planned for, like addressing the social circles that you're in.
Yeah.
Not you're in, but they're in.
Like talking to them about it and how being around different people could help you. That makes sense. Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to just like go and order down the PowerPoint. What's the next one? Cue to action is the next one. How does that apply?
Cue to action would be like what triggers the person to do that.
Mm-hmm. Like what makes them change? Okay, so in the PowerPoint, it's like a famous musician that died of cancer because he smoked. So they like, I don't know, you can relate to that person, be like, I smoked, he died, so I should stop. I guess that makes sense.
Well, do you recall the commercial of anti-smoking where it's like in the 1920s, like they have all these like hip really cool like cowboys smoking, and then at the end there's that person that has emphysema and he's like
Yeah. I
Mhm.
do remember that, yeah. So that might be in like advertising, could be a cue to action then.
because it's like
Those are serious commercials.
Yeah.
They're scary.
seriously, it's like ah. And the thing is that doesn't happen with everyone, but just because of how our brains work, it's like that could be me.
It could happen, yeah.
Like, it's, I don't know, I look at it like it's instilling fear, but it's like a good fear if there's such a thing.
Yeah. Or at least understanding, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. And then the last one's self-efficacy, but that kind of just goes through all of the steps, in my opinion. It's kind of always important.
And we
So,
covered that last week a little bit, talking about it.
mhm.
I love that one. So
I do too. That was like my favorite. Like the lesson, I just like the lesson. It was
soaked it up. I was like, oh my gosh.
Let's see. And then, so like, what kind of interventions would work on this? So this one was like smoking cessation programs, right? So what other ones would be good?
support groups, but I think a lot of the interventions go with smoking cessations, I think.
Mhm.
That kind of encompass a lot of different activities, I guess you could say.
Yeah. I guess you could go with anything where you're trying to get somebody to like stop a behavior, whether they're like a drug addict or an alcoholic or
Mm-hmm.
just like eating
Working on
poorly.
helping it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's support groups for almost everything.
Yeah.
Compulsive eating to like just, you know, when a spouse dies, learning how to, with a loved one dying, you have support groups for that. Like, I think the biggest thing possibly could be like support groups. I guess like the education as well.
Mm-hmm.
Making sure the education is available and out there.
And that not only that the education's out there, but the people who are trying to change and make the quitting smoking possible is that they have access to resources. I think that becomes a big problem is people don't have access to support groups, or like in this one it says like quit coaches. They don't have that, or like medical advice to try and get the nicotine patch. I think that is a big barrier for a lot of people, just like the lack of resources.
Or like, I'm studying about Pakistan right now for like that random class you have to take. And there was a time where in Kashmir, the government actually like banned internet access. And so like it was there because they were trying to refocus on bringing unity back because everything was going like freaking crazy. And what ended up happening was the health programs could not advocate for the vaccines that needed to go out, awareness for those vaccines and like health procedures and different things. And so actually the government was a reason for holding a lot of like health promotion out. And I just remember reading about that, and just like a barrier could be the environment as well, like war zones and different things that could go along with it.
Mm-hmm.
That brings up the fact too of just like having knowledge and like, I don't know, if you just like see a poster, somebody could ignore it. So some of the most successful ones I've seen have been like, if you take this class, you can get a discount on like your health insurance premiums for the year or something, you know, something so that like people want to go to a class or like are forced to in some way. So they have to learn about their susceptibility and stuff.
Right? Like, hey, if you want this benefit.
Yeah. So like making something that isn't like easily ignored, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So then there's a scenario it gives us of the underage youth getting tattoos to rebel against parents or be accepted by peers. As a health educator, you have to put aside your own personal feelings about the circumstances in order to work with the target population. So we're reading and discussing this quote. Peer and parental influences compete and often conflict. As youth approach early adulthood, they decide upon ways they wish to present themselves to others and count the costs of doing so by gauging the reactions they get. Attendant to this process as psychosocial risks and rewards. For example, the choice between acceptance by peers and rejection by parents and other authority figures factor into the decision-making process for behavior in general. We imagine this to be more consequential when individuals contemplate getting something as permanent as a tattoo. So we're talking about what is the behavior behind tattooing. Anybody have any ideas?
I know two of the examples I had read somewhere in this week's assignment was some of the behavior is they want to rebel against parents, and then another one is peer pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think it's like peer pressure, like, oh, you're only cool if you have tattoos. I think it's a lot of the peer pressure is like the positive, like, oh, that's so cool. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you have a tattoo? Oh, that's legit. Yeah, that's totally like sick, man. Or, like,
yeah, I agree with you, Kira. I don't think it's so much the talking into the tattoo, like, oh, you totally have to get a tattoo, it'll change your life. It's more so for like a status update, their status quo.
yeah.
It mentioned that they like gauge things by the reactions they're gonna get, so that makes sense. It's not always before, which is something I guess I haven't really thought about. Was like that's still peer pressure in a way. It's just not the way we think about it. But if you know how your peers are going to react, that could still change the way you think about something.
Yeah.
Like if you're trying to make like a political statement or like a statement of some sort, like, you know, the whole like semicolon or like the whole comma thing for like mental health. Like I had a friend who got like a colon on his, like, I can't remember, not a colon, but like a comma,
Mm-hmm.
like semicolon on his, like, tattooed on him because he just believes so emphatically about it. And so he wanted to be able to express it on his body.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that could possibly be like one of the pressures, like, oh, I need to make sure that I'm supporting something that I really feel like convicted
Yeah.
about.
I've seen people too getting tattoos like for respecting someone that has died, or like, you know, footprints of like their babies, or like the date someone died or something like that. So maybe they feel like that's a way to show respect to somebody that they loved.
Yeah.
I guess that one's different because it doesn't really have to do with reactions or anything. It's
See, that's the one I was thinking about because I have an aunt and her daughter was riding her bike one day and got hit by a car, and she ended up dying from it. And so she got a tattoo of this butterfly that she drew on her ankle, or that the daughter drew. So she got the tattoo on her ankle. So I was wondering that, like, I think there's a difference in, I think she did hers more to remember her daughter.
mm-hmm.
Kind of like what you were saying, like when people do like a baby's footprints or like the date of somebody's death or whatever, as compared to what Kira was saying, somebody who wants to like make a statement or an expression.
I think those can be a little different too than, like, in this case we're talking about people who are really young getting tattoos sort of for no good reason. Like they have a reason, I'm sure, but like,
Yeah.
usually when people get a tattoo like that, it's very thought out. It could be like a couple years after somebody died, you know, like it's a plan and they do it on purpose and they have a reason. Whereas we're talking about like youth just doing it to be cool or because they
Or
want.
like a celebrity that had this really cool like sleeve tat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I get a sleeve tat, like, then I'll be cool. It's almost like an if then, like, if I do this, then I'll receive like this positive feedback. I'll receive acceptance and I'll be looked up to and admired.
Yeah.
I think that's also interesting when we're talking about like young people, because it's talking about like your perceived susceptibility, right? And we always talk about how you think they're like indestructible and that's not going to happen to me, kind of thing, you know. Plus they
always
just didn't know about things. Yeah, they're just like young enough too that they might not understand the consequences. Yeah, they wouldn't know that a tattoo could get infected if you go to a sketchy place. You know, they don't they don't
Yeah.
think about that ahead of time, I guess.
Mhm.
Or like how your body will react to the ink.
Hmm.
And also, like, the healing of the tattoo can be a timely process. Like,
Yeah.
you're essentially tearing the first layer of your skin off.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how we're doing that homework assignment is designing a program so that the youth can understand, like, you're going to go get a tattoo, you got to understand all of the consequences that come with it, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not saying that they're necessarily bad, but there's better reasons to get a tattoo rather than rebellion of parents or trying
Yeah.
to fit in at school.
Yeah.
I also think it's interesting when kids like they want to rebel against their parents and they would do it like to get a reaction from their parents. You would think they like wouldn't want their parents to be mad at them, but a lot of kids like do want that reaction. Like they want the attention or whatever from it. So I guess the reaction doesn't even have to be positive to make you want to do it, I guess.
Yeah, I think they're so attention starved that they are like, okay, is this the only thing that my parents are gonna finally like recognize?
Yeah, like they only pay attention to me if they're mad at me for something.
Mm-hmm. Which that is so sad, but that's unfortunately true in cases.
Yeah, it's definitely something you have to consider because this one's talking about like underage youth getting tattoos. So that's definitely, I mean, I feel like the reasons people get tattoos is very wide, but like the younger you get, the fewer reasons there really are, you know?
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it's mostly reactions of peers and like your parents and stuff.
What I think is interesting is like we have because you could have a couple reasons why a child or a youth wants to receive a reaction from their parents. It's either they're not receiving attention or also like the peer influence of like, don't tell me what to do. You know, I need to be a grown adult. I need to learn how to be adult. This is an adult thing to do. And so then that causes like a rebellious attitude towards one's parents as well.
Yeah. Dealing with authority figures and figuring out how to do that.
I don't know. Anyway, that's a whole different, yeah.
Yeah. Whole different thing.
About to go into it. Refocused.
Let's see. It's going back to like the health belief model and like how each of those, because we talked about like the susceptibility. I guess the perceived severity would be kind of weird too, because people might think, okay, yeah, even if I get an infection, like a tattoo lasts forever. So even if there's like this temporary problem, it's worth it, I guess. So that could be harder to like explain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then also, like, I don't know how you could explain this to teenagers. Because it's like the same with like the choices you make, they affect your life later. So like if you're gonna get a tattoo at 17, 18 years old, like you permanently have that. Unless you go get a tattoo removal. But like you have that. So I think about he's actually my stake president now. I used to work for him. He's a pharmacist back home right after I graduated. And he did this exact same thing when he was young, just to kind of like rebel against parents and just to fit in, to be cool. They all went one day after school and got tattoos, and he got like the lamest tattoo. It was like the Tasmanian devil on his shoulder. And he's like, I don't know why. He's like, but I regretted it. Like I like thought I was so cool for like the first few months. And he's like, then like I graduated and I started preparing for a mission and I got married. And he's like, I have Tasmanian devil on my shoulder. Like, why? Like, I don't want to go swimming with my wife or my kids and people see this stupid tattoo. So he ended up getting his removed, and he had talked about how like it's extremely painful to get them removed.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so I think that's like, I don't know, that was like an example of like, I don't know what 18-year-old is gonna, I feel like at that age, they're just gonna get a tattoo like to be like, they're not gonna get some like memorable tattoo or like a tattoo that they want the rest of their life. They're gonna go get Tasmanian devil, and so it's permanent.
I had
By the way,
Yeah.
the word that would sum up like the objective of these programs is to teach prudence,
Mhm.
like wisdom in current actions, as you think about the future, like make actions today that will give you a positive future. Like, and so that's the word that just keeps on coming into my mind, prudence. Like, and not, I think it's so funny that prudence has been altered to be like, oh, you're such a prude, such a negative context. I'm like, thank you. Yes, I am.
That used to be a good thing. Yeah.
I like how you use that, because if they go and get a tattoo on their arm or like on their face or visible on their body, and then they plan on going to school and getting a career, they're going to have to cover that up, because most working places, professionals don't allow visible tattoos. Like it's just not appropriate workplace appearance. So then they also have to consider that. Like, if I'm going to get a sleeve tattoo, but I want to go get a job as an accountant, or I want to go get a job like as a doctor, chances are they're going to make me keep that covered up. And
right.
Yeah.
So,
and I was also thinking about, I had a Sunday school teacher that actually got a tattoo while he was on his mission of a flaming basketball on his arm, and he got it removed, and he like showed us every week, and it was like super expensive. He said it cost like to get it removed was like something like 10 times what the tattoo cost originally, because you have to go in like every week. So it's like some people go in there thinking like, oh, I'll get this tattoo, and if I really don't want it, I'll get it removed. But chances are you never will, because it's so expensive and it's so painful. And so it's just like if you start smoking and then you're like, oh, someday I'll quit. You can't assume that you will be able to change your behavior later, I guess. You think you have more self-efficacy than you really do. It's better to just not do it in the first place, if that makes sense.
yeah, exactly.
I knew this woman, and she was like a hardcore heroin addict. Like, and she like had a kid and everything, and she like kept on trying to get out and like be able to not have this addiction. But like, she told me some stories, because she had like 3 stars on her face, like right here, like a tattoo. And she's like, yeah, I was super high when I got this. And they looked like sketchy too, like not very well done, like just like really. And she's just like, and it's like messed up with her brain as well, but that's like more like with drugs rather than the tattoo thing. But it's just like understanding, be like, hey, you know, like you're a smart individual as a teenager. Yes, you have a great mind, but your mind isn't fully developed yet. Like, if you're going to make this decision, make sure that you have it planned out and you have thought about like the future consequences. And it's not like a split decision, like, yeah, right now, let's do this. That seems to be a theme that have been with our stories.
Yeah. I think it's interesting too how like young people, if you're like, oh, well, they might not let you work somewhere because you have that, they tend to like think that that's wrong and like the workplace should change and they should be more accepting of you and stuff. Whereas like you really can't change the world around you, whether you like it or not. That's how it's going to be. And I think that's something that young people don't always understand. They're like, oh, I'll find someplace that will let me. But that's just, it's a lot more complicated than that, I guess. And they tend to think that they can change it and that, you know, maybe 10 years from now that's not going to be a problem. But you just can't be sure of anything like that.
Exactly. Like, I know I've had friends say the excuse like, I don't ever want to get stuck behind a desk job. That's why I'm going to go get a tattoo. Okay, a tattoo's not going to really prevent you from getting a desk job. Your life choices are going to like determine how successful you're going to be. Just because you've got a tattoo does not mean you're going to become successful. So I laugh when I have like friends who are like,
this job.
I'm like, a tattoo is not going to change that. If anything, it's going to prevent you from getting more jobs. And when it comes down to it, sometimes you just need a job, even if it's one you don't want.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Let's see. So then we were going to talk about the application. I haven't looked at it yet.
So I opened it and was like, I'm going to get this done. And then I didn't do it. On Monday, because I was like, hey, I had it open. I like read through it all, had my notes open, and then I just didn't do it.
Never did. Okay, did anybody else last week? I like forgot Monday existed because it was Memorial Day. So So then I like went to do the reading report, but it was actually Wednesday, so it was already closed on me. And I was like, dang it. I like thought in my mind that it was Tuesday because of the weekend and stuff.
Yeah. No, I was doing that report like way too late on Tuesday, and I was like, oh man, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Did it still let you do it or no?
No, it didn't, but I had like a 99% in the class and it was going to drop me like 0.5%. And I was like, it's okay. I'll just.
I can miss this one assignment. I'll be fine.
But then this week I did it like way ahead of time because I'm like, I don't want to do that again.
Right. I always try to do that. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do this super early. And then Tuesday comes and I'm like, oh no.
I didn't.
Yeah. That's how I was on Monday because we're going to New Mexico tomorrow. So I'm like, I'm going to get everything done. So I was like, that's the first thing I did was just knock out this class. Like Monday morning, it was like 10 o'clock and I had my reading report done. And that's why I was like, okay, now I'm going to do the application. And I just didn't do it.
It's funny. Let's see. So what are we supposed to do?
It doesn't look too difficult.
Oh, it's just like a worksheet we're filling out then?
So like we have to explain the HBM model and then we do like scenarios and definitions of all the concepts that we learned this week.
Okay. Yeah, that doesn't look bad at all, actually. Let's see. I ended up actually doing really good on that assignment last week because I was like totally not sure how we were supposed to do part of it. And I was like, I guess I'll just like make up all these cases where if this happened, I would do this intervention, you know. And I feel like we probably all did that differently, but I guess it was okay.
Nailed it.
To be real, I'm not sure that she actually reads all of our stuff.
Also possible. It looks great.
I think that's like a solid assumption because I've gone 100% on every single thing I've turned in. I don't know if I'm just doing it right or if she's just not reading it.
Yeah, I think I got 100%.
It's good that you're doing it right. You're doing it right.
There's just more than one right.
I guess.
Let's see. Like intervention.
I'm gonna feel like this. So overview.
Under the intervention, should we just put like
on the
smoking cessation or like what do we put there?
Which one are you looking at?
In like the table under number 2, it says what individual interventions are you developing? So like what words would you put as an intervention?
Describe/explain.
Are we talking about like,
I think that like okay, so hang on. I got too many tabs open. I like know exactly what I want to say, but then I'm like, hang on, I gotta go figure out what I'm looking at.
where it is?
Okay, so in the application, it gives us like pretty much that answer.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So step 1, apply the principles outlined. Blah blah blah. Overall risk of adolescents at risk / likelihood of being tattooed. Interested in tattooed or obtaining a tattoo as you complete the assignment. So I feel like that tells us what we're supposed to do, just kind of put it in our own words.
Yeah. So like under like there's like the construct and then the intervention. Under the intervention part, are we just putting like health belief model down every single one?
What individual intervention are you developing to apply the construct as health educator? Oh, shoot. I don't know.
I don't know what they mean because like the other ones make sense. Or are we supposed to be going all the way back to like that big table we filled out once with like the social things and the
because it says what individual interventions are you developing, apply the construct as a health educator, and then it says from the 8 different types. So I'm assuming.
Oh,
so the model that we also used in last week's assignment, is that right?
Yeah.
Or like we could use in last week's assignment?
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. So do we just pick like 1 or 2 of those, whichever ones we think is useful, helpful?
Yeah, for each of the different sections.
that makes sense. And then description, impact. Is there anything else we don't understand?
Wait, I'm still not fully understanding what we just talked about. I'm still
Okay, because I don't either. I'm like,
Let me see if I can find it.
what individual? Because it says, what individual interventions are you developing to apply the construct? So is that the one where we'd be like, okay, I wanted to do like the health behavior model because this is supposed to influence people wanting to change.
Yeah.
Which I couldn't do that one. That's the only one I can think of.
So I pulled up this interventions table we did in like week 2 or something, and there's 8 of these.
Uh-huh.
So I'm assuming since it says out of the 8, it's these ones.
Yeah, that's the one that I'm talking about. And we just pick which one or more of those interventions we would use.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think, yeah. Okay, that makes it a lot easier. That's the
So
only
then
part.
when it goes down to the little diagram intervention, is that where we'd also pick one of those 8?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we only have to fill out the box. I don't think you have to like write anything in question 2 right there. I think that's just instructions for what to put in.
Yeah, to complete the table.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense. So I'd be like, for this one, I would do this intervention, describe why it would be useful,
Mhm.
and then like how I think it would impact.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't that also like, wasn't that also an example on the reading as well?
She, like, an example of how to do this. Now that I remember, I know she did a video.
Oh yeah, didn't you like send an email?
Yeah, she sent an email and did a video of like a quick description of how to do that.
Oh, cool.
Okay, that makes sense. Cause yeah, I think I saw that email, but I just haven't paid attention yet. So
That's the one that she uses peer pressure as an example, or like, I don't know. I think it was like perceived barriers. Peer pressure is what she used as like the description.
Mhm.
And so,
Okay, that makes sense. All right. Well, does anybody else have any questions, or are we good?
I think we're
I
good.
think we're good.
I think this was a bit shorter than the last one, so
I know the last one was still actually pretty short. When I turned it in, it was only like a total of like 35 minutes, and I was like, because it says 45 to 60, so I don't know how strict that is, but I'm not too worried.
I mean, as long
Well,
as
she was there for our meeting, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I think because she watches all these, correct?
uh-huh.
Yeah. And so I think it's more about like how productive our meeting was instead of just like fill up time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Makes sense. All right. Well, I will go ahead and stop the recording then, and I can